this is a hard issue to deal with because, again, one year you have about $6,000 of earnings. The next year you have $60,000 of earnings. If anybody's looking at that, and this is where business valuation gets a little murky, right? Because you would say, okay, what we're trying to estimate is what is the next year's income, right? And so, yes, we could look at the history and we could average it, but is the indicators going up? Are the indicators going down? And in some capacity, you also said, which was probably kind of important, he had stopped doing some of this business. Like he had a job, but a lot of times the dates of valuation become important, because, okay, is that job, because we can't consider anything beyond the date of valuation. So like if that after the date of valuation, it burns down and doesn't exist, we're still valuing it as of the date of valuation. Like it did exist at that time. We have no foresight of what could have happened. But, so to me, that it would seem important if the guy was now had another job, right? Is the business viable kind of situation? But
well, here's another error. The trial court didn't resolve the dispute date of separation. This business was supposed to be valued as of the date of separation, and they have two disputed dates. One wanted an October date, the other wanted a November date, and November is when the husband takes the new job with the W-2. So that you can just see, it's amazing how one little paragraph resulted in all these reversible errors, any one of which, and you just explained it before I even got to the law, if you don't have a date of separation or the valuation date, whichever your state's practice is, and it may be different by type of asset. But here for this business, the valuation date was supposed to be the date of separation, and the trial court did not specify it. It danced around it. That's a separate reason to reverse, just that alone. And the costs of going to trial in the first place, then the appellate cost to then get remanded, the net just isn't there.
Yeah.
Which Melissa and I have been discussing among all of the cases we've looked at. Put the effort into the trial level evidence for the business. If the business matters to you as a significant asset, put your effort into your evidence, into your trial brief, into what you're giving the trial court on the record. Show the trial court that the other side is leading it to a path of reversal. Judges don't want to be reversed. Trial judges don't want to be reversed. That's another strategy where you would show the court, not only here, ours works, ours fits so when it was North Carolina, our business valuation, our evidence, our analysis fits the poor framework. We've answered all four things. Our business valuator contributed, and then we, the lawyers, did the rest. Here it is, all affirmable on appeal, Judge. And look what the other side's leading you astray, because here's how the other side is violating the poor factors. That's another lesson of this recent Bailey decision. Show the other side is leading the court down the path of reversal. This is embarrassing. To get one little paragraph with over 7 errors, no trial court judge wants that. That's bad.
But like maybe I'm missing something, but like they didn't really have an expert,
no,
right? Like they were just presenting this evidence, which is probably why it was a little bit, because it was a little bit unclear. Right? Because if they had had an expert, they would have presented it, but they were trying to use documents that were supplied by the other spouse and come to, some rational way, which a lot of people do. Like if it's just factual, like if there's a cap account or if there's a balance sheet that it's just like, here's what the value is. But the problem is if you're relying upon one of the parties to testify to that, are they an expert? Do they have the capabilities? And is it going to, like this, it's a $40,000 valuation that's now going through God only knows how much time and effort in appeal, when it literally looks like it's been like throwing a couple numbers. Because what they would have done, even if it was a declining business, is they would have just looked at what the assets were, like what is in your bank, which is kind of where I think they were trying to go, like, oh, he had income, but like what is still left in the bank, right? What are your assets? What are your liabilities? Is there anything that you could sell? Is there a customer list? Is all the goodwill personal? That becomes, but there was no discussion of any of that, right?
Right. Right.